unnecessary muscular holding. So virtually all back pain is caused by unnecessary muscular tension. And so if we learn to become aware of how we're tensing in the back, are we holding in the lower back, are we compressing in the upper back, are our shoulders rounding forward, like what are we doing to ourselves? If we're willing and courageous enough to face looking and examining our own habits, and then slowly just letting them go, letting the habits thin and slowly disappear. And if we're willing to look in the mirror, see what we're doing to ourselves, notice what happens when we stand up and sit down, and how we might tend to tip the head back and compress the neck and compress the whole torso, and then try getting in and out of a chair without tipping our head back and compressing the whole torso, and letting go of these bad habits. Then we can come back to our full length and to our full width and take our full space in the world. You look at children, and they usually have such beautiful use of themselves. They have such beautiful posture, and they have so much joy in life, and they love to learn, and they love to explore. And then they start going to school, and they're forced to sit in desks, and they're forced to not move for hours at a time. And by the time they graduate high school, their posture is bad, their attitude's bad, they hate learning, they frequently turn sullen and antisocial. And it's because we've put them in these desks and these chairs for many hours a day and forbidden them from moving. And if you simply compare that to cultures where they don't sit in chairs, and what beautiful use they have. Like if I was just to show you 10 random people and tell you that 2 of them, never sat in a chair, you'd be able to pick out those 2 versus the 8 who regularly sat in chairs, because sitting down, this sedentary culture, sitting down is as bad for you as smoking. And people who are free and who don't have our Western habits of sitting behind a desk all day, they tend to have really beautiful use of themselves, and they walk elegantly, and they have great posture, and they're filled with energy and life.
This is true. And I think so much of it is posture. It's posture. It just has to do with aligning your body right. Would you agree, Bathtub Girl? I mean, we've got to try to do that. And I think that it is a habit. It's a force of habit that we're in bad posture. Why can't we make it a force of habit to be in good posture? And my second question about this is, does the Alexander technique have a lot to do with stretching or what?
No, there's no stretching, and there really aren't any Alexander exercises. So you don't get, to do things to do Alexander technique. What you really get to do are to undo things. You get to stop doing the things that hurt you and compress you. So we're not really interested in people stretching. What we're interested in is people stop hurting themselves and pulling themselves down, and then the body's natural flexibility returns once we let go of all that unnecessary holding. So it's very frustrating for the Western mind, because we so want to do things. We so want someone to give us a set of instructions and exercises to go do. But the Alexander technique is the opposite of that, because it's all about non-doing, undoing, stopping these bad habits, and then the good habits will just naturally flow from there.
I think I get what you're saying. I'm curious, though. In America, the typical American diet, the diet is full of fast foods and pops or soda or fizzy waters, as you might know them to be. How detrimental do you think soda or pop is to the body, because the muscle takes all that in?
Yeah, I'm sure it's pretty bad, but I have to confess I have no expertise in matters of diet as an Alexander teacher. Now, Alexander teachers tend to take a little more care of themselves, because when you quit debauching your kinesthesia, when you quit ruining your body, then you naturally tend to want to eat a little more healthfully and to be more gentle and considerate with yourself. But the Alexander technique teacher's training has nothing on diet, so I did not receive any instruction there. It does tend to flow once you start treating yourself with respect and with some gentleness. you are less likely to want to, destroy yourself,
right.
drinking Coca-Cola and eating junk food. So it's pretty rare that you find
It's a big problem in the States. It's a big problem. The obesity is climbing. And my two daughters, they're homeschooled. They do not go to a public school. And, sometimes we just sit on the floor and learn. And I tell them to sit crisscross applesauce because it helps with the muscle tone rather than sitting in a W formation, which is poor muscle tone. And that's something I work on with my children. They have good posture.
Yeah, and they can probably sit fairly easily on the floor, while most adults who sit in desks and chairs a lot, will generally have a hard time just sitting on the floor. They'll, start slumping. It's funny that if you sit with support for your back, the back tends to get weak. So if you're used to sitting in a chair, you're used to having that support for your back, so that when it's not there, it's very, very tiring and very difficult for you. So you demand that back support, which in turn makes your back more weak. So it's a really vicious cycle. So most adults cannot sit, comfortably just sitting on the floor because they need that back support because their back muscles have grown so weak.
Mhm. Oh, I agree with you. I do. I have my muscle problems. What were you going to say, Debbie?
I was just going to say a lot of people don't know this. I think some people do, but I don't sit in a chair. I sit what we call Indian style. I sit on a bench, Splash, a bench that's sort of you would imagine an old movie star, it's called a Chase, the antique.
Oh, a Chase Lounge.
Exactly. But
those are so nice.
Mm-hmm. I'm sitting with it horizontal to my desk, and I'm sitting with my legs are crossed in an Indian style, and it helps me to sit up straight more and just sort of remind myself, because I've never really thought about it the way you said that, Luke, but it is true that if we sit in a desk, that's sort of just a cheater's way of we get sort of used to that being like a crutch almost, and it helps me more to have to use my own muscles to hold myself up, and I've never.
Yes, that's so much more healthy for you.
Well, when he was speaking, I kept on, the movie Wall-E, where they're in the Chase lounges that are float in the air and they don't walk and they do not use their muscles. Yeah, maybe that's the same way we've fallen into that rut already. Or do you know that movie Wall-E that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Is Wall-E is he like a little?
It's a Disney movie. Yeah.
Where something? What is he? He
chases this female robot because she's got the plant and
right. Okay.
It's Earth has become toxic. They left for 6,000 years, and they're on this continuous vacation, and everything's done for them, and they have no muscle tone because they don't move, they don't walk.
Wow. That's amazing. I don't think I've ever watched it, but I've seen bits and pieces of it. But I was going to ask Luke something now, and I forgot what it was. Okay, so basically this is what I'm getting, that the Alexander technique is more about taking something away. Can you give me 3 examples, at least, of what you would teach somebody to take away? Because I think I'm a little bit fuzzy on what we're looking at here. But if you could clarify to sort of spike our interest with this a little bit more. And like I said, your website is, tell me again the website, please.
Yeah, the website is alexander90210.com. Now, so what are some examples of things that we take away? Well, one of probably the biggest thing that we take away is living in reaction. So living in response is great, but living in reaction stinks. So if you're constantly getting triggered, if you're just constantly reacting to stimuli, be it a family member or a work situation or the traffic or whatever's the stimulus, and you're just firing off unthinking responses, we want to stop that. So I'm constantly stopping my students. Stop and say no. Stop and say no. Think your directions. Free your neck. Think about your head gently floating forward and up. Think about taking up your full space in the world, your back lengthening and widening. And then once you think about your directions and your good use of yourself, then go ahead and think about a response and then act in response. But don't live in reaction. Or living in reaction is just really bad because it's unthinking and